What's up, everybody? I'm Sal Kalani. This is Reggie Steele.
And welcome to Spitballin.
There it is.
Yeah.
Jasper did hit me up about a song, but he's still working on it. So
Okay.
I told him,
Okay.
hey, no worries. Genius takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So should we until we get that, should we go ahead and come up with our own jingle? Like sing a little tune.
You can do that.
The thing is, I don't even know if people like that. Do people even like that? Do they like us?
I don't know, dude. It's not.
Spitballing.
It's definitely.
Spitballing.
It's definitely not
Hey.
showing in the ratings if they like it.
Yeah, that's true. It takes a while, man. We just keep working, right? We just keep pushing.
The
And
first episode was a hit, and then it went downhill. I think just
oh,
riding that little Nas X, or maybe that new flavor we brought. But it's
mm.
consistent. We have a consistent group, but then small but mighty.
You know what it is, man? It's I don't know if that's a good sign, man. That means we might have to mix it up, because if they like the first one, right? The first one shows up out of nowhere. Everyone, they don't know what to expect, and everybody's
once
all
we
in.
get some guests and stuff, we'll get some real. Anthony Bishop was not a guest to bring enough to the table. No, that was a good story, but
it was a great story. Hey, man,
but,
who are we doing this for? We doing this for the people? We doing this for
right.
us?
I mean, I was thinking I'd like to have him
For
back
both.
on, because there's another time I forgot, we have a hilarious, embarrassing story, because we went to Hawaii together,
Oh,
and
wow.
then
Okay.
we had to rent this kayak, and it was the whole thing. It was pretty funny, but yeah. But anyway, well, dude, I want to you wanted to bust my balls. I think you should bust my balls on the podcast. It'd be funny, dude.
About what? About which
We'll go
part?
about Bishop trying to get your contact.
Oh man. Oh man, come on, dude. Hold up. There's a couple of things. First, I gotta address the fact you called me ignorant last week, man. That I didn't realize it bothered me until I was sitting on it like
I
3 days later.
like
I was like, yo, this
nothing
dude is
really. I apologize, Reg. I apologize then, but like I think you call a white person white trash, it really pisses them off, and if you call a black person ignorant, it really pisses them off. I think
I think
it's
if you call
a
anybody who
sensitive thing.
you call anybody who deems themselves intelligent ignorant, that's gonna
Hey,
piss them
but
off.
I will.
But hold
I
up,
am
did you just compare being called white trash to being called? Are you saying
no.
that like?
It's two
Are you saying
things that I
it's
know really gets into someone's jaw.
okay?
Because I
Well,
feel people throughout, like I know people always want to prove, like white people don't always want to prove they're not ignorant. They just want to prove they're not white trash, is what I'm trying to
right,
say. Where
right,
I can feel
but
black people have been put down a lot for stereotypes and racism about ignorance, and that's what wants me
or
to
about
prove
their
it wrong.
intelligence, right? Like I
Right,
mean,
totally. Yeah.
historically, yeah. But you got to understand too, this isn't just a black and white thing. This is a Sal and Reggie thing. Like I know you. It's one
That's what
like.
bugs me about this fucking vaccine, dude.
But hold up
Because
though, hold on. Let me finish this thought.
that's
Let me
what I'm
finish this
saying
thought.
you're being ignorant about, is the vaccination.
Okay, I get that, and I'm not
Not
being
you
ignorant
as a
about that.
person. I know you're a really smart person. I've known you for 20 years.
Right, right. All I'm saying is, see, you made me lose my thought. You made me lose my
Sorry,
thought.
dude. I'm just throwing. I'm just.
That's the interrupting. That's the interrupting. No, what I was gonna say was, yeah, I was gonna say it's a you and I thing, right? So I was like, some random person off the street comes up and calls me that. I can give two shits. I'll be like, you don't know me, right? It's
Right,
the same thing.
right,
We're like, I don't like you. I don't care if you don't like me. I have enough people in my life that like me, right?
right,
Like I don't
right.
need everyone to like me. But if someone I know says that, then that hits harder than
Yeah.
someone else, right? And so, it just I don't think that you think I'm not intelligent or lack some level of intelligence. I just realized that it stuck with me for like a day or two afterwards. I was like, man, did this motherfucker just call me?
I'm
But
sorry,
that's how I
Reg.
work though. But that's how I work though. I'm that dude that like something can happen, and in that moment, my ability to reason, right, in that moment and maintain my composure to some degree will get me through it. And then later, when I sit and think about it, then that's when I go, like that's when I rage out, right? But then I got over it. And I was like, that's not what it is. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
I
and
knew
I will
that point.
say, like me, just right now, just bringing up the race thing was partly because I've been arguing with people for months over the vaccination and facts and stuff, and I call a bunch of white folks I know back home ignorant all the time. And then
Right.
there was this there's this black guy we know. He works at one of the clubs. Cool guy,
Right.
you know.
Uh-huh.
And he put something up about not getting the vaccine, and I put ignorant. This dude called me. Like, hey
Hey
man,
man,
why you
dude,
it was
you
like
gotta.
another level. So that's what I mean. Like, and I get it. And you know, and I knew I'd get that reaction, I guess, from him. But and honestly, bro, it's a stereotype I think that's brewing out there that in the black community about the non-trust of the vaccine.
Well, okay. How about this? And I'm not
And
gonna.
I
We
get
don't
the
have to get too
history
deep.
because of you know, people fucking over the black
Dude,
community for
that's all I'm
years.
saying. I
Yeah, I
mean,
get
it's
that.
like I'll put it like this. I don't think that I've ever. I don't like. I trust science. I like science. I'm into
Right.
science, right?
Right.
Like I believe in science, right? But
Yeah.
there's also a history that this country has in using people as guinea pigs, especially brown people. And the
Right.
one that goes back to, I mean, we can always cite the Tuskegee Experiment, right? Where
Right.
they allegedly gave people the antibodies, right? But they had syphilis and they let them continue to have syphilis because they wanted to see what was going to happen. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that I think that our government is actually doing that to people now, right? I
Right.
don't believe that science is doing that now because there've been rules and changes and all that kind of stuff. But hearing those stories growing up, you develop, I guess, a distrust for something that seems to be like this idea of like here, especially the way they're pushing it, right? This is the thing for me. I get it. I get it. I totally get it. The thing is that people are having a hard time sitting at home. People have a hard time not being in the community and being able to talk to each other. Businesses are suffering, right? Like there are so many other external factors that feel like that's coming into play that the push for it almost feels like overbearing, right? Everywhere I look, I'm like, they got a person with the band-aid on their arm, like, I did it. It's like, look at me. I'm standing in like it's almost the level of advertisement. It almost feels like propaganda-ish in a sense of how overwhelming it is coming from all angles. But I understand the whole medical aspect of it too, right? Like I've looked at the numbers. I've seen the people who've gotten sick. I've seen the people who have died. I know people. I personally know people who have lost people to this. I know people that
Right.
I
Me
grew up
too.
with that are no longer here because of this, right?
Damn.
But then I also know the other side of it too, the sheer number of people infected, the number of people who pass away, the number, how it affects kids, how it affects the elderly, middle class, people who are healthy, people who are not healthy, people who have pre-existing conditions. Like I get it, but it just feels like it's so overbearing. And it's just this idea of like people wanting to get back to what it was. And I'm okay with that. But it's also, I also think that it's like a testament of how hard it is for people to like just be with themselves. And that's a whole nother conversation
Yeah.
about like, just being able to be okay for a moment and let it pass in a certain way. But
I mean, part of me was thinking like, the part of me like, oh, wanted to go out and do shows and stuff was like, ah, man, it sucks. But then the hermit side of me was like, this all right. This is what it's about.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to see none of you motherfuckers anyway.
But what's funny to me too is that I can be okay with everyone else having their belief about this whole thing and be happy for people. Matt Morales and his wife went and got it. I'm like, yeah, way to go. My boy Q, he went and got it. My boy AJ, my boy Mark J. I know tons of people. I know other people who've gotten, and I'm like, yo, that's great. And then I go, I'm gonna hold out. And everyone's like, ugh, how dare you? What's wrong with you? Right? Like, what is wrong? Ugh. And I'm like, yo, I support
Doesn't
you in
feel
your
good,
belief.
huh?
Well, you know me though. I'm always like, yo, this is take it or leave it, right? Hate it or love it. This is what
Hey, I
it is.
found
But
some
okay.
facts about the long-term effect because people, that is the biggest worry. And
Yes.
there's
It
one
ain't
little thing is the spike when in the vaccine they give you the one protein, right? And then
right.
what happens is it has to mimic and all that, right? But the actual virus has 28 proteins,
Right.
which could really mess you up on the inside. But and
Yeah.
also they say 6 to 8 weeks is the most that any vaccine in history has ever shown long-term effects. So that's why, you know what I mean? It's not a major concern.
Oh, okay. So they're saying 6 to 8 weeks. If something's going to happen, it's going
In
to happen
throughout
in
history, yeah, throughout
for vaccine
history
for
of
specifically for
vaccines.
vaccines.
Mhm.
Because I mean, we've had other medications that at the
Right.
time were fine, and then all of a sudden,
Right. We used
10
to
years
put,
later,
yeah, lead and shit. So did you, this is,
baby, think about it. People thought baby powder used to be cool. Everybody's putting baby powder on their babies, and then some
that's not
babies
cool?
died. No, baby powder was deemed to be fucked up. It was killing kids.
Really?
Yeah. They had to recall baby powder, man.
You know what?
So, but whatever.
You know what's something interesting? You know I read the wake, like, cause like man, when my brother died, like it was a wake, dude, and I hate when you go in there and they got the open casket, especially when someone's sick, and then that's not who you remember them as. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So I was
That's
looking
why they
up,
put the picture up. But
yeah,
go ahead.
but
Yeah.
so I was looking up the wake, like where it came about, supposedly.
Okay.
Is back in like the Middle Ages, they would make cups and shit out of lead, right? And eventually that build up and you could get lead poisoning, right? So people would have these drinks, whatever, and they'd get poisoned and pass out for like days. So sometimes they weren't dead, they were just out of it for days. And sometimes you didn't want to bury these people alive. So they would have a wake and keep them up in the open for like 2-3 days to see if they were alive or not before burying them.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
crazy,
That's
right?
crazy. That's some, I mean, can you imagine thinking someone's
No.
dead and having this whole thing, and then all of a sudden that's like just pop up, be like, oh shit, they woke up. It's awake. He's awake. And then it's like, we should call this awake. That's
Dude,
funny.
how insane is that? And I
Dude,
was
man,
like, so
that's
because someone couldn't check a heartbeat in the Middle Ages, now I gotta see, my brother
well,
in this casket. Come on now.
yeah. With my mom, my mom passed, I had it was a open casket at the beginning, like once the service started, then it closed. But prior to, like when everyone wanted to come in
Same.
before
I
the
think that's
service
the
started.
same. I think that's that's the use, right? Because
Yeah,
because they don't usually have it at the funeral, just before. You're right, like a day or
right,
two
right.
before.
So if anybody wants, well, I had her at the funeral home. It was open for people to come and visit and see her. And I remember sitting there, dude. It was so weird. I remember sitting there and I'm looking at my mom in this casket, dude, and I wasn't there at the time when they did the prep, obviously, because I'm not in the room, but the makeup was too dark. My mom wasn't as dark as me. They made her as dark as me. My mom she wasn't fair skinned, but she was more caramel complected. So I'm
Right.
sitting there looking at her, I'm like, yo, the makeup is too heavy. This don't even look like her. Right. It was kind of
Whoa.
weird, man, sitting there.
Yeah.
And but during once the service started, then they closed the casket. But they left it open for the people who, for people who were coming in from out of town that hadn't seen her for years. For them it was like a way of like seeing this person, but she just did not look like herself because of
Right.
some other things. But what's funny, man, is I don't know if it's funny, but the first funeral I went to was when my dad died when I was a kid, third grade, right?
Wow. That's young.
Yeah, it's young. And I just remember we're down in Tuscaloosa and they got an open casket and we go to do the whole thing. We walk by and we look at the casket and I look at him and I was just like, I don't like this. I was like, yeah, I don't like this. And so I was like, can I go outside? And so my mom let me go outside, and like during the whole service, I like went outside and played and whatever. And from that experience, I stopped going to funerals,
Wow.
right? I stopped going to funerals. And then it was, who was it? And like personally, I missed some very pivotal and important funerals that meant people that meant a lot to me, right? My cousin Bernice, my uncle OG, my uncle Johnny, my uncle Pip. Like I missed a lot of so go ahead. What are
Like,
you
so
gonna
you
say?
wouldn't even go to the wake or the funeral, even if it was closed casket?
I did not want to go. I didn't want to
Wow.
go. So I didn't go to any of those. And then my senior year in college, my roommate, one of my suite mates, Lamont Madden, passed from heart disease. He's 21 years old. Played football and developed this heart condition our junior year, so he stopped playing football. So senior year he wasn't playing, but it's a long story. A lot of stuff happened. He ends up passing away May our senior year, right before graduation, right? And I'm a pallbearer. So I can't avoid the funeral.
Right.
And so I go through the whole thing, and I see him, and this is the first time that I was like, I'm sitting there looking at him, man, because it's an open casket. I'm like, I'm rooming with this dude. This is one of my boys, right? Like I'm saying goodbye. I'm like, I'm a part of this. So I reach out. I had to touch him. It was the first time I ever touched a dead body, but I touched him. I laid my hand on his chest because I just needed to feel that the thing that I had always seen, that part of life, that thing, that energy, that source, right? It was like it was gone, right? And I just like I touch him and I'm like, oh, okay, so this isn't him, right? The thing that
Yeah,
makes
it's
him
just like a
him,
shell of a person.
it's a shell of a person. So once I had that moment and realized that the shell was left and the thing that made him who he was gone, dude, it was like it opened up the floodgates for me as far as like having some closure. Because what I realized was with the people that I had, funerals that I had missed, I missed that opportunity to have that closure, to have that moment of saying, okay, this thing has ended, but the thing that was them has moved on, right? So
Right.
I can end this and move on. And when I say this, dude, I promise you, I had a moment one day. I'm living in Oakland. I got a studio apartment, right? I'm landing by myself. I get up one morning, like I do every other morning, to get up to go to work. And as I sit up in my bed, I turn, my feet hit the floor, and something, I don't know what it was, man, but I got someone dropped a truckload of water on me. Like I fall down and I just started crying. Like I fall to my elbows and I started bawling. And I'm talking about, when I say bawling, I'm talking about uncontrollably sobbing in my apartment by myself, just crying. And I realized that I was crying because I missed my cousin Bernice funeral that I love to death. I missed my uncle Joe OG's funeral, whom I love to death. My uncle Johnny, my uncle Pip, right, and a couple of friends. I realized that I had missed all this and I never got a chance to say goodbye, because in my mind, they were all still kind of stuck in this perpetual state of like existence to some degree, because
Right.
I didn't have the closure to say goodbye. And so in that moment, I sat and I cried and I said goodbye. I went through the whole grieving process that had happened. These people had passed at various times in my life when I was a kid, a young
Right.
person, right? From third grade up into 20, right?
Yeah.
And so it just, dude, it came. So the whole idea of the wake and being able to have that moment to go through, even if they don't look the same, it's just an opportunity to have that closure that gives you that moment to put that at rest and at peace, and then move on in a certain way. So
Yeah.
it's a long way to
Yeah.
go. Sorry.
No, you're
Didn't mean to
good,
get
man. That's you got to get real sometimes. I mean, I remember like I've had like a lot of friends die since like I was a teenager. You just happen to know, a lot of friends. And but then when Eli passed, that we knew, the comedian, and he like lived with me, and then like he called me the night before and I didn't answer the phone because I had like a
Okay.
show. And then the next day we found out, and like I remember we had a show that night, and everybody around like was bummed. And me, it was like I didn't accept it yet. And then Saturday, I remember I had to work and I was catering and I was bartending, and then I still didn't accept it. And then at the end of the shift, I was like, "Hey man, I got to cut out, dude. I'm messed up over my boy dying." And then I went for like a walk. I remember I had to leave my apartment, just go walk around the park or whatever. And then it finally like hit me. But you're right. I think it's like you have to like let it out at some time, you
Oh,
know?
you got to. I remember when Eli passed. I remember, I think I was at work. I got the call. I was at work, and I just had a moment where, I'm doing my thing. And then it just kind of, I sat down, like, in the midst of working, you kind of, you follow through with what you're doing, obviously. But
Yeah.
then, when you have a moment to sit and reflect, I had a moment to sit and reflect. And then I just doubled over. It's like, oh man, Eli. And then if you remember, there was a time where they were like, at the very beginning, they were like, there are pictures, like someone posted pictures online.
Yeah.
Remember?
No, I
Yeah,
saw it.
someone, I
I
did
saw it,
too.
dude. It was messed up.
It was
Yeah,
so messed up.
somebody, because he died in a motorcycle accident, and then somebody, a motorcyclist, was going around the turn and he saw it, took pictures of it, put it up on this motorcycle blog page. A lot of the people knew him, knew Eli, because he's big on this motorcycle page, and they were giving this guy shit. But yeah, man, I mean, it
Remember,
was instant though, so there's at least that.
that was that. But Bob Brindley, one of Eli's best friends,
Yeah.
um, he contacted and made him take the pictures down, which I respect big time. But I saw those pictures. The good thing about them, they weren't gory at all, but it
No,
was just kind of
you
like,
saw the blood.
yeah, it's like, yo, man, like, you know, I think that's also a testament to our what is it, our voyeurism, right? That thing that people like, everyone wants to see a train wreck until they actually see one. Right. See one and they go, oh man, that's terrible. Like for something like that to happen. And I get that people knew Eli, but you know, if you want to say Eli passed, you don't have to post the pictures of his actual death. Like show other
well,
pictures.
I think
of him
that
on
guy
bikes.
was trying to, I don't know. That was like a motorcycle thing. Because a lot of times, like they try and blame the motorcyclist even too in that situation. And remember in the picture, the car that he hit was totally in flames, like the front of it, because like he hit this car probably going like 80 miles, 90 miles per hour around a turn. And what also is crazy is so when you do those turns, like he loved to go fast. That was Eli, man. He'd come home to the apartment and he'd be like, yo man, I did a standing wheelie, which was a big thing to him. Well, I was like, she's crazy, man. So he but so anyway, he was going and so sometimes you would come off, if you're going to make a sharp turn, they'll come out of their lane a little. And that supposedly is what probably happened. But where he was racing, where they were riding, they weren't racing, they were just riding. And he rides with guys. And Bob Brimley went there and he laid into the spot where Eli died. And he said he was there for 20 minutes, a car didn't come by. So it was such crazy circumstance that at that moment.
Absolutely. Well, remember they were saying that they had been up there for a couple hours riding and hadn't seen a car
at all.
And he goes in, not at all. And then he goes into this one turn, he takes it a little wide, right?
Yeah.
And then a car just had, like, that's one of those moments where you kind of go, you know, like, is it fate, right? Like, is it just, like, was it meant to be? You know what I mean? Like,
it's hard.
Because it's such an anomaly as far as like the coincidence, the timing of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing in regards to death and dying and acceptance and all that kind of stuff is, you know, sometimes it's, you know, everybody wants to know why. Hey man, sometimes I think it's just time, right? Like it's just the time. Like you can't explain it. You're never going to get an answer, right? You're never going to get an answer.
Yeah. My whole thing is nobody knows.
No one knows.
No one knows what it is. Right? And you know, right.
I mean, it happens. But yeah, man, when Eli passed, I was you know, that was hard, man, because I loved Eli. He was just funny, creative, outgoing.
He was very good. He was very physical.
He was so physical. But you know who he used to kill me with? When I used to love, and I didn't realize how much I loved it until he was gone, and then I heard it. But remember how he used to talk about, you know, he's like, oh, Bree, you get out, you get you like, and he would, remember he would hit the sound effects, and he like, dude, he would hit those sound effects so perfect. I remember one day watching some motocross thing or some motorcycle thing and hearing those sound effects, and it just all came back to me like, yo, Eli did those joints perfect. Right, like, you know, even like doing the wheelie and then the tire coming down and hitting the road, you know, whatever.
He'd always make fun of like the rednecks he grew up with and shit, and people getting in their El Camino, and it's Friday night, we're gonna get
right. And the thing that I used to love too was no matter what, he'd always throw in a bacon. He's like, you know, the tank top, the wife beater, right? With the bacon grease stain, El Camino, with the bacon grease stain, right? Which dripped, like just the description, man, the detail. Dude was great, man. I love Eli, man. I'm sorry he's gone. Speaking of Eli being gone, it reminds me of a picture that I have from New York at Caroline's. And in that picture was me, Eli, Sandy Selby, and one other person. And another person we just lost recently, since we were on this topic, is Sandy Selby out of Santa Cruz. Obviously I didn't know this until last week when you told me after the podcast. And, you know, I had to go write a thing on her page, and I don't usually, if I write something, I don't really write it in the sense of like writing it to the person, right? But that one I had to, because that was, you know, Sandy, I was fortunate to do a couple of her shows right before the pandemic. So you figure 2019.
Oh, wow, she was still doing it, huh?
Yo, dude, she was still doing, she was active, man, and funny, putting together shows, fundraisers. Her shows are always crowded. And she'd always make sure we were taken care of. Like that was her
Yeah.
thing. She was like, you guys deserve to be paid. And she made sure that we were compensated well. Always provided food, a great venue, great audience. And she was just so sincere, man. So sincere, so supportive, so encouraging, kind, sweet, smart, funny, ambitious. And for those who don't know, to the people listening, Sandy Selvey, she had MS, and she had an experimental procedure
Stem
done
cell.
with stem
Yeah.
cell,
Like
and
the
it
first in the
worked.
state of California, I believe.
Yeah, like, and it was, you dude. She has a TED talk about it. Like it's like one
Yeah.
of those local. Did you see that one?
Nah, yeah, I haven't watched it.
Oh, you got to watch it, man. It's a TED talk. Sandy Selvey. It's only 10 minutes, and she talks about her experience and what it was prior to, and then having the stem cell surgery, and then regaining her life. And so,
Wow.
with everything she had experienced, like the loss of movement and being able to not control herself, and tremors and everything else, and everything that comes along with it, and then to have the stem cell and regain her life and her mobility, like it speaks to her ambition and her drive. Like it's almost like a second lease on life,
Yeah.
where she wrote the book, she did the shows, she was helping others, she was supportive, encouraging, happy, just she just embodied so much good about people, right?
Yeah.
And it seems that she passed from lung cancer, but it seems like she didn't know, or no one knew. It was one of those things where
Well, see,
I
I
think she
do. I heard like I saw like some of her friends put online how they like had a one last time like
yeah, they got to
happy
say
hour
goodbye.
with their online. So yeah. I mean, but you're right.
They
She
had a
probably
Zoom.
kept. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think, honestly, man, like having that ability to say, you know what, I know that this is my time is coming, and so let's have a Zoom. I'm gonna say my goodbyes now, because I know I don't have much time left. Because I looked at her timeline, and it was like in March. I think it was like March. Everything seemed fine, and then there was, like obviously a absence of
Damn,
presence,
that was
right?
quick.
But that's what I'm saying, because I've heard about that happening where someone didn't know they had anything, and they get a bad cough, or they cough up blood, and all of a sudden they go to the hospital, and they go, oh my God, you have stage 4 cancer, right? And it's
Jesus.
metastasized. And they go, I didn't know,
Yeah.
I felt fine, right? And it's like, well, you have weeks. And so, having that ability to be able to face something so daunting, right? And then say, let's have a Zoom. I want to say goodbye because I know my time has come. I respect that big time, man. I've had a couple of friends that have kind of gone out like that, and there's just a level of appreciation for that,
Yeah.
right?
No. Yeah.
So
Yeah. You just gotta face it head on, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it's easier to
And
say now. It's we're sitting here healthy,
yeah, none of
knock
us
on
could
wood.
understand how. Yeah, no, dude, you never know, man. When you know what's
Yeah.
coming, like I saw it with my brother. Yeah, I don't. You respect the hell out of it. All right, dude, you're good at depressing me. Now let's talk about something
Okay. All
else.
right.
I
All right.
was
My
gonna say
bad.
go back to the busting my balls because this dude. Look, man. Like first off, all right. When I first, I thought it'd be funny, like a good party gift to our guest. Like, hey, dude, break the dude off with a contact right now. I didn't know your guy's a multi-millionaire guy or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even Anthony knew. But
Look,
anyway, I didn't know any
okay.
of
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
was
Yeah, I don't want to
actually
get into
kind of,
his.
yeah, I was just thought it was kind of funny, So I said that to you.
Well, okay, here
But
it is. This is the thing. So let's just go ahead and address it. So last week we had a podcast and we had a guest on, and it turns out that we knew we had not a mutual friend, but we know someone mutually, right? Like it's a guy that I know personally and the guy that he knows through business. So after this whole podcast is over, I get a message from Sal like, "Hey, why don't you have your boy call this guy?" And I go, "Hey, dude, this guy, um, he don't call people; they call him."
which is good. Make good point. I get that.
Yes, yeah. It's like, he like that's like saying, yo, dude, hey, have LeBron James hit me up, dude. Here's my number.
Oh, I didn't know it. Does these LeBron now? Hold on.
No, he's not LeBron, not even close to it. Not even close to it. But you just when people have a certain status in the community and
Yo,
they've
you know what
established
though?
themselves,
You want to say
and
about insulting people? Remember what you said to me? You go, "Pff." I don't know how many millionaire friends you got, Sal. They don't like to give their numbers out.
Hold on. No,
I
I
was
didn't
like,
say I
yo,
don't
I
know.
got a couple millionaires in my phone. I mean, they're
Hold
comics
up.
that I know are doing really well, but yes, I
Hold up.
want to
Just
give
for the
out their
record,
numbers.
I didn't say how many you know. I said apparently you don't have that many. Okay. I didn't say I
Man,
don't know
that's
how many you
even
know.
worse. You didn't even
I'm just
ask.
saying,
You just
well, because everybody that I know that has real money, and they ain't got to be in the millions. I'm just
right. You
talking about
don't
some,
right.
yeah, for people who have done exceptionally well for themselves and put themselves in position to live comfortably. They do not take kindly to people just giving out their number.
No, I
Like,
totally agree.
I know people right now who are like, yo, look, man, I'm gonna give you, I'm just gonna make it an example. I'm not gonna give any real people, but here's an example of, hey, dude, I won the lottery. And so now I got to change my number, right? Seriously, because that's what happens, right? You win the lottery, and all of a sudden, everybody is like, "Yeah, we went to school together from second and third grade. We was best friends in second and third grade. So I'm gonna try to hit him up. It's my dude now. This is my, this is my partner. It's like, yo, man,
Right.
y'all
You
ain't
don't want
talked
to be
in
that guy.
35 years. You don't want to be that guy. So yeah, it was just funny to me that Sal was like,
but
"Hey man, have your boy hit this guy up," and I'm like, and no offense to Anthony, I think Anthony was cool, right? I
but
enjoyed
I mean,
having
it's
him
just
on.
funny though. They're both in the same business, the copier
Yeah,
business.
well, the difference is one guy started a copier company, and the other guy works for a copier company,
Well,
right?
no, Anthony has his own now. Remember? That's
No, he
how he
said he's a
started.
director at Global.
Yeah, he's
Global.
part owner of his
Oh, okay. So
whatever.
they started another company of their own.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought he was in a like a leadership position at somebody else's company, but
No,
this is
no,
like
it's
his
his.
company.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
how
okay.
we
Well,
opened the
hey, that's good.
podcast, and we thanked him, and then or we congratulated him, and
Yeah,
then
that's right. Okay.
um yeah. So, but yeah, he texted me again
Global copiers.
yesterday, and he's
Did
like,
he?
hey, yeah, he's like, yeah, man, can your man Reggie hook me up with an online meeting or an offline meeting with this guy?
Okay, so this is what I need. Like I'm gonna do this right here on the podcast. This is what I need. Right? Seriously. Um, I
Well,
need
I
to
would say
know.
this: he's a persistent salesman. He's a salesman. It's all
Hey
business.
man,
You know what I
dude,
mean? I get that.
he's working in copiers, right? Like he's selling
Yeah, it's
copiers.
a tough
So
game.
it's a tough game. Like
Yeah.
closed mouths don't get fed, man, and the squeaky
Right,
wheel gets the oil, right?
right,
So
right.
what I'm trying to figure out is what exactly does
What's he
if he
want?
can tell me exactly what he wants, then based on that, it's going to be hard for me because
No,
honestly,
yeah. If
this is
there's
a friend.
because
This is a
here's the thing.
friend.
Here's the thing. Your friend, he's not gonna. Will he benefit really? Maybe if they can both make money, then it's that business. I don't know what
Right, right.
but you're right. There's not enough detail. So you just want me to give him your number instead, and he can bug you.
No, I think we'll keep you as the go-between. You can be the middleman.
The buffer.
But so this is the thing too. Think about this one, right? People know that I know Mahershala,
Right.
right? And I don't get a ton of them because I block a lot of stuff. But I've had people contact me on social media, be it Facebook, Instagram, or wherever else they can find me, and go, "Hey, I wrote a script. You think you can get this to Mahershala? Hey, I'm
Yeah.
putting together this thing. You think you can get this to Mahershala? Hey, I'm putting it. I got a thing I want, and there's a thing I'm doing, and we think that Mahershala would be great, right?" And I'm like, yo, I understand to the rest of the world, this is an Academy Award winning, Golden Globe winner, right? Movie star, whatever the case may be. But to me, he's still like one of my best friends, like my
Right.
best friend, right? And so for me, I'm like, yo,
I'm
I'm
right here
protective
too,
of him
Reg.
in this.
I get it. I get it though.
No, no, no. But I mean, yeah, I have more than one best friend, obviously, right? Yeah, no, Sal, you and I
Sorry,
are
I don't have
tight,
any
bro.
Oscars, Reg. Just this
No,
podcast.
no, you know what? All right, just for that, I'm going to tell everybody what you mean to me right now.
Oh
Right?
no, dude. Go finish your
No,
point.
well, the point I was going to make is, a part of me, obviously, I can see that aspect of him to the world, but to me, he's still a dude that I've known for 20 plus odd years, right?
Yeah.
And that, you know, that I love and that I care for and that I'm protective of in a certain way. And I don't necessarily see him as that thing, right?
Right.
It's not until, every once in a while, yeah, I'm like, oh man, my boy's on the red carpet. That's great. But he and I talk all the time, and we don't never talk about, like, we talk about industry stuff. It's a very small amount. right?
Right.
But we'll go through it as an understanding. But we have so much other parts of our life that's so enriching, right? That what he does for a living is just a small part of it. You know what I'm saying? But people reach out to you when they know stuff like that. So
I mean, I've had a couple people, and I barely know, but like comics I've worked with, and they're like, "Hey, yo, can you get Bill Burr to do this thing, man?" I'm like, "The fuck? I know. What do you do something for? What? I'm just gonna ask for somebody else?
Exactly.
I don't even know.
Exactly.
You
Like
don't
I've
even
had
know.
people.
I don't
No
know
way.
that way.
Like no, I've had people know that that I've worked with Dave, right? With
Chappelle, yeah.
Chappelle, yeah, and then they go, hey, you think Dave will do this? Hey, you think you can reach out to Dave and do it? And I
Yeah,
go,
yeah, all
yeah.
the time. It's
I go,
weird.
"Yeah." Like, yeah, it doesn't work that way, man. Like, it
Right.
doesn't work that way,
I
right?
remember
You
one
can't.
time watching Chappelle after the show, and remember Ngaio Beelam went up to him, and he's like, "Yo, man, Dave, we got this thing. I don't know, it's something he pitched to him before or something." And he's like, "Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, can I get your number and talk this out?" He's like, "I got my people you can talk to." That's all he said. Like Dave's like, "I'm not, dude. Get away
That's it,
from me."
man. Giving out the numbers, you don't get the people who get Dave numbers like Talib Kweli and Yasin Bey and Erykah Badu and the Roots crew and what I'm
Most deaf,
saying,
yeah.
Most Def and Kanye and Common, right? Like all the artists, and then other people on his, John Mayer has his direct number. You know what I'm
Yeah, of
saying?
course. Right.
Right. Like the people that you see him, Dave, Chris Rock has. Dave is not, it's not gonna be like, "Hey, Dave, it was great working with you this weekend. You think we can exchange numbers and maybe I get?" He's like, "I got people, But he's always super nice and cordial and polite, man, and fun to
Yeah,
work with.
man. He's great,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
He's great.
So, well, I want to share this real quick. So you're one of my, you're one of my best friends in the
Now
world.
we're
You
going
are,
from
dude.
now we're going sappy, bro. I was just busting
No,
your
I'm like,
balls.
no, but I'm serious, man, because I want to put this out there. Is how that you like are important to me is that I introduce you to I'm like I have a very close-knit group of friends, right?
Reggie is so private. I don't even know why he wants to do a podcast.
It's my natural state of being, man. But I am. And so with that being said, like the fact that I'm like that you've met Mahershala and you've met other friends of mine and people that are important to me, like that's huge, man. That's a testament to what you mean to me. But this is the other one. And this is one of the things that I love about you is that sometimes with this business, I have been short-sighted, right? In the sense of just kind of like, all right, I'm doing comedy. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's a good time. I'm good at it. I like doing it. And I've had, I don't know how many times or instances where you've been like, "Hey, dude, are you doing the thing? Are you auditioning for the thing? Are you going to the callback for the thing or to the open call for the thing?" And I go, "What thing?" You go, "Dude, they're doing a thing in San Francisco for comedians to be a part of the thing." And I go, "Oh, okay, cool." And you're like, "You should do it." And I go, "Really?" You go, "Yeah." And I go, "All right, you think so? I'll do it." In that instance, what ends up happening? I end up you tell me about the open call for the NBC Center for Diversity thing, the 6 a.m. call time. I go up, I do my minute. I get a call back to do 3 minutes. I get a call back to do 5 minutes. I'm selected one of the 10 people in the country to go down to LA. They fly me down to get a hotel. They give me a hotel. They give me a rental car to do this showcase in front of hundreds of industry people. And that, none of that would have happened if you hadn't said, "Dude, what are you doing? Go do it."
Still waiting for that
Right?
finder's
Like,
fee.
yeah. The finder's free is us maintaining the friendship all these years. No, man, but I mean, like in that instance, there were other instances with like the Montreal auditions, right? Like maybe not taking those serious and then being like, "No, dude, this is where the industry comes to look for, emerging, up and coming, emerging talent."
Yeah.
And in the end, I end up having like four callbacks for Montreal and a part of that was because you had your ear to the street of knowing what the industry was looking for. Whereas for me, sometimes I was just kind of like, "Oh, it's just fun to do. I'm just doing it, right? And it's just fun, right?" And I owe a lot to, I would say I owe a lot to you, and I owe a lot to Molly Schmink, because Molly, she recognized that I had a talent, and so she would put me on these showcases, and I get these opportunities, and whatever they lead to, a TV spot or
She's great.
Yeah, she's
and
great, man.
still runs the best club in the country.
Oh, easily, hands down, hands down. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Reg. You
Yeah,
mean a lot to me too.
thanks,
That,
man.
that's as deep as it gets. Hey, I had something. Speaking of someone else who means a lot to us, is
Okay.
our good friend Greg Edwards, and I was going to put some new art up on the back.
Oh,
There.
nice, nice.
So
I
got
see
my
that.
red
The
line and with Jimi Hendrix, one of my
Yes, sir,
favorites.
dude.
I'm
That's
gonna go
awesome. You
put
know,
this up right now, dude. What do you think?
please do,
Good.
please do. That's a great picture of Jimmy too. I mean, come on. Sal has the he's got the Homer Simpson Jimi Hendrix on his arm.
Is it straight?
It's right. It's a little crooked right now. It's a little crooked. Like, no, the other way. Other way. That's crooked. Come back a little bit more. Right. No. Go back the other way just a touch. There. Right there. Right. Yeah, that's it. That's good. I feel like it's still a little skew, but it's good. Yo, real quick before we go further, I gotta say big ups and props to Greg Edwards, because I also have one of his pieces that
Which one you got?
Oh, dude, I got the biggie.
Oh,
I
of
got the
course.
biggie.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I got the biggie. I got the biggie poster. So I'm actually gonna get that framed. I'm in the process of getting that framed now.
Nice.
And
Now
then
I got
I'll
this
be
at one
posting.
of his showings down here in LA like a couple
Oh,
years
okay.
ago. He was doing
Okay.
it. But
Yeah, man.
yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
now he's doing t-shirts soon.
Yeah. Hey man, Greg is a hustler, brother. You
Yeah.
know, he's got his comedy, then he's got his writing gig on Comedy Central, and then he's got his paintings, his art, his shirts, his hats. Dude, now
Yeah,
you
dude.
got a couple podcasts. This dude is a hustling motherfucker. Like
Yeah,
this
we
dude.
gotta have Greg on, dude.
Oh
Promote his
man.
stuff. Promote
Yeah,
his own
Greg
little
is
business.
seriously, he is you know what's that Jay-Z line? I'm not a businessman, I'm a business
Yeah.
man. Shoot, that's
Oh,
Greg Edwards
speaking
right
of
there.
I was thinking I was watching Friday yesterday, dude.
Okay,
And
okay.
I love that movie. The
It's a
first
great
one.
movie.
So I
Yeah.
had this. So it remind me of this joke, and then this whole story I told you about working with a Dave Attell.
Oh, okay, okay.
So basically, it was. All right. Well, I see. It's funny. I don't want us to turn into like those old Muppets in the balcony, just rehashing old times. That's sometimes my fear with this
Dude,
podcast.
hold
Well,
up.
Reg, that one time.
That one time, remember when I was at the thing and I did the thing with the people? That was great. But hold up though, just for the record, everybody, everybody loves those old dudes in the balcony
They're
on
the best.
Muppets.
Yeah,
They are
Stadler
I
and
mean,
Waldorf. So we could be
dude,
like Saldorf and Steedler. Steel.
Steedler. Okay, I can
I
do
was
it.
trying to get Steel in there. But yeah, Waldorf and Stadler. I looked them up. They're so funny. You're right. Everyone
Dude,
does love them.
everyone loves them. They love, but you know what? Those guys, they're not sitting there telling old stories. They're just making fun of everybody.
They're totally
Right? They're
heckling
like,
everybody, dude.
they're
They're the
heckling
best.
everybody. They are the heckler. You call that a show? I call that a, whatever. So okay. All right, what
But
you
no, I
got?
remember I worked with them a few times, like different clubs and stuff. And so, like the fourth, fifth time I worked with them was at Cobb's, right? This is probably the last time I worked with them. I was hosting, and it's the only time he ever told me he liked one of my jokes, dude. So I had
Oh,
this
okay.
joke, and it was my Friday joke, and so I started off a little, you got to get a attention grabber right off the bat, So at first you
Okay.
state the obvious. I'm like, racism's wrong, pushing the
Yeah.
envelope. But
Okay.
I'm like, but sometimes you got to find, the good side of racism. I'm like, no, let me explain. That always gets the crowd paying attention right there.
All right.
I'm like, no,
Yeah.
look,
The good side of racism.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
that's
love. If you can make stuff funny that's not supposed to be funny, I feel that's kind of the art of stand up.
right.
But anyway, I was a big fan of the movie Friday. Love that movie. Chris Tucker, Ice Cube. I'm like, but when the sequel came out next Friday, I couldn't wait to see it. But no movie theater within 20 miles of my home would play it
Oh
because
yeah,
they
I
said
remember
they did
this.
not want to attract that crowd. Now that's
Right.
really sad and messed up. But if you think about it, racism actually saved me from spending $9 on a really shitty movie. So so then this is the part of Tell like that I was like, so sometimes the cross is only half burning.
Nice, nice. That's a good line. That's a
He has
great
a
line.
smart line, and then so
This
the
is a smart
crowd would
line.
always be like, "Oh," but then like he came, I was upstairs, and he's like, "Yeah, that half burning crossbody was funny. It's a good bit." I was like, "Whoa, thanks, Dave." Because I mean, dude, I worked with Dave a lot, and it was some of the best crowds I've ever had with Dave
Oh,
Attell crowds,
absolutely. Yeah.
and
I think I've seen
but
you
you
open for him.
respect the dude is always writing. The dude is like in between. I remember one time in between he called this comic and I come in, I'm like, oh, you trying to get tags from your buddy or something? He's like, get tags from my buddy? No, that's hack, dude. He's like, I'm just trying to see if anyone else in New York is doing this kind of bit right now. I was like, oh damn, this dude's next
Oh,
level.
wow.
So
Oh, that's hack to get
well, I
tags from
mean,
your.
Dave is a very Dave. It's him and only his style. And but he's a joke writer too.
I guess, but I mean, look, man, all the greatest comics wrote with, like, they found their people. Like, who was it? Seinfeld and Mario, right? Was it Mario Joyner, right?
Oh no, Mario Joyner opens for Chris Rock a lot.
Oh, okay, but he and
Oh, but he did
Seinfeld.
help write with Seinfeld. You're
He
right.
did help
Yeah,
write
you're
with
right.
Seinfeld. So
Yeah.
Mario Joyner writes with
Larry
Rock too
David,
as
of
well.
course.
Larry David, and then Louis C.K. and Rock wrote together all the time. What I'm saying is, I think that what's that thing? What's that saying? Iron sharpens iron, or steel sharpens steel,
Yeah, you
right?
could challenge
Yeah,
each other
exactly.
like
It's
that.
like you find people, like, even the best basketball players, or the best at whoever, or best at whatever, they always want to go against the best because they bring out the best in you, right?
Yeah. So,
Right. So
all right. So this is the funny part of the
okay,
story.
okay,
So
okay.
I remember the last time I worked with Attell at Cobb's, I was opening, and Sean Rouse, God bless him, another comic that
Mm,
passed. He was
hmm.
middling, right?
Right.
And
Oh, he
so we did
loved Rouse too.
we did the whole weekend. And then it's Sunday. I do my set. Rouse does his set, and then Attell's up. And then Rouse goes, "Hey man, I got this joint. You want to go smoke this joint?" And I'm like, "All right. Well, all I have to do is say, Dave, tell everybody, and that's it, right?" So
Right,
okay,
right,
let's
right.
do it, Rouse. So we go down in the basement part of it, and I
Yeah.
remember smoking this joint with him, and then we go back up to the side of the room. And Dave, I worked with Attell many times, never seen this before, but this particular night, he goes, "All right, well, now I'm going to bring up your opener, middle, Sal, and Sean back up. We can riff with them a little." And we're like, "The hell?"
Oh, and you guys just smoked.
So we go up there, and I have no idea what he wants us to do or
Right,
anything. And Rouse, man, he smokes and he gets quiet. Like he like I remember as a drinker, Rouse would get a little wild, but as
right.
a smoker, he was like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
on
yeah.
this
It was
stage
shut
with,
down.
yeah. So we're on the stage with him, and it tells like saying stuff, and I'm like, what do I say? Like, I mean, this guy to me, he's like the king. I can't, anything I say is not going to be funny enough, probably, you know what I
It
mean? To
doesn't
try and
matter though.
insult him. Yeah. So
No,
it
yeah, it
was
doesn't
weird.
matter.
And he was like
Yeah.
kind of looking for feedback. I did give him like one line, and then, but it was weird, right? And Rouse didn't say anything. And then
He didn't say
afterwards,
anything.
barely like nothing. It was definitely, I don't know, we are trying to riff. And then afterwards, he got a few laughs at Tell did because he's the best at it. And then he goes, and I always remember he goes, "All right, well, guys, give it up for Sean Rouse and Sal Kalani, two of the best comics in the country. I work with these guys a lot. Thank you very much. This thing was great." And then I went back up to the green room, and then I was like, he's like, "Yeah, thanks for not giving me anything, you guys." And I was like, "Well, I tried." I was like, "I don't know what you want us to say." I was like, "I gave you that one thing." He's like, "Yeah, you gave me that one thing." And then I was like, "Well, he just called me like this great comic. Now's my chance." I'd be like, "Hey, Dave, so, is it cool? I get your number or email or something, just message you to, maybe open for you sometime." And he just looks at me and he's like, "Yeah, I got my guys." And it was just like such a high and then such a
Yeah.
low all in one, like 5 minute
Oh.
swoop, dude. Oh, man.
Well, at least he was honest with you, man.
No,
Because
yeah, he was honest. He's always honest. He was cool, man.
yeah,
He was
it's cool.
he was cool. And I hung, sometimes he'd take us out after shows, and like he was always a good guy to the comics, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
And
right.
it was cool seeing him in Amy Schumer's movie, Trainwreck and stuff.
Oh
And
yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
He
know,
put a lot of comics in it. It was just cool.
I never worked with Attell. I saw him at Cobb's. I think I saw you open for him, but I ran into him in North Beach one night. You know, well, obviously by Cobb's, and I was walking along, and I'm like, yo, is that? Because he's a little dude. He's a lot smaller than I thought he was.
Yeah,
or maybe I'm just a lot bigger than I thought I was.
No, yeah, he's a little guy.
He's a little guy, and it was one of those things where I saw him, and I recognized him, and then he saw me recognize him, and he was like, he kind of, you know, he was already kind of, you know, whatever. And so I was like, all right, I'm not gonna bother you. I was like, but I'll be at your show later on to watch it. So, you know, that happened with Bill Russell. I was at Whole Foods.
Oh yeah, you told me this, and this is crazy that you should have totally went and talked to Bill Russell, man.
Dude, I'm in the grocery store. I see Bill Russell, right? 11-time champion, 10-time as a player, 1 time as a player coach. Bill Russell. I'm in the grocery store. I see this dude, and it's that thing of like, yo, because you don't really see tall old people, right?
True.
You don't really see tall old people that often. So I kind of I look, and I take this glance, and I go, and I take a double take, right? I go, right, and I had this moment of like, oh, that's Bill Russell. And he saw me take a double take. Now, just for the record, for the people out there who are listening, Bill Russell is infamously known for not wanting to be bothered, right? He doesn't.
Oh, really?
He doesn't like being harassed or bothered by people out in public. And you know what I mean? He's a very low-key dude. Like, he's good with all the other celebrities, like the other marquee players, right? Like Michael Jordan coming up to him, LeBron James coming up to him. You know, in the past, Kobe Bryant, like,
but ballers. You're a ex-college baller, dude.
Yeah, but I ain't.
But also, wouldn't there be like, hey, this young African-American man's looking up to me?
Look, all I'm saying is, as a person who you know, not necessarily read the audience, but who can take the hints, right?
Okay, like, that's true. Right. You gotta take. You're right, because sometimes, because if you force it, it's just awkward and weird.
Exactly. So he sees me take a double take, and once he noticed that I recognized who he was, he goes like this, right? Like, he turned his head, and I was like, for a moment, my bubble was burst. I was like if he would have been like, hey, you know, then I would have been like, hey man, I just want to say, huge fan, love your work, love you, you know what I mean, love. And I would have told him that I played in the same conference, West Coast Conference.
Oh yeah, because he played for San Francisco. That's right.
USF.
You took me to a San Francisco game. Who are they? Exactly. What is their thing?
They were the Dons.
The Dons, that's it.
The Dons,
and you were the Gales.
We were the Gales. And I'm like, oh, it would have been such a moment of being like, yo, you played in that conference. I played in this conference. Huge fan, love your work, love your history, love your, you know, how outspoken you've been. Like, would have had this moment to just like give him his roses, right? And then walk away and be like, hey man, you know, take care. Great talking to you. Walk away. But I had to take the social cue of like, and then I kept it all and walked away.
I wonder if his walls would have come down though once you mentioned the basketball connection. Especially if he played. Look, now I have no problem going up to anybody anytime. I think I have that like a-hole personality where sometimes I could get away with it. Like I would one time was catering a bat mitzvah in Pacifica, and Rob Schneider was there. Yeah, in Pacifica. That should
be all you had to do was bat mitzvah in Pacifica with Rob Schmitza.
So Rob Schneider was there, right?
Rob
and
Schneider.
His brother and his mom, you know, and his mom's Filipino, and like they're there for this thing, and all the kids and everyone's taking a picture with him, bugging him, blah blah blah. And then I go up to him afterwards. I'm like, all right, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna talk to him. He's caught me. I loved early 90s SNL. I'm talking to the dude. So I went up to him and I was like, oh, hey, Rob Schneider. And you can already tell it's like up. And I'm a comedian, you know, and then it just like, and it came down.
Oh,
and I was like, and I'm like, yeah, and I know Larry Bubbles Brown, you open him. He's like, oh yeah, and then it was kind of like a cool moment. And then, and that's, you know, that was it. But I will say, this is another thing you made me think of is, a couple years ago, I took my girl to Vegas to surprise her for her birthday to see No Doubt. Okay, or
Oh,
no, I'm
nice.
sorry, no, to see Gwen Stefani.
Okay,
Okay,
she was. It
yeah,
wasn't the band, no doubt. It
no,
was
it was just Gwen
okay.
Stefani,
Just
but her
Gwen. Okay,
Vegas show, dude. And dude,
right.
you ever go see a band in Vegas? It's really nice because the crowd is small. And the stage is a little smaller. It's not going to be like this huge thing you would get in an arena tour, but
Right.
you're really close and it's pretty awesome. And you're there for
Oh
the
wow, that's
music
cool.
anyway. So
Right.
it's pretty
Right.
good deal. So and we had this one right on the aisle, it was a great seat. So but on the plane, on the way there, it's a Spirit airline, by the way, but you get them
Right.
hella cheap from LA to Vegas, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
yo, bro, I could survive 40 minutes on it. So
That's
on
funny.
that plane flight is the bass player from No Doubt. Tony
Okay.
Canal is his name. Like I did have to like look it up, and he used to date Gwen Stefani, like back when they were in the band and stuff.
Oh, whoa,
And
okay.
so the first thing I think of is like, oh shit, he's probably gonna go to that show. So then after
Probably not.
after we get off the plane, I don't care. I just pull my little luggage. I got it. I see him. He's sitting there with his friends, having waiting for a drink, and I go up to him like, "Hey, you Tony Canal, no doubt." He's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was like, "I'm like, you going to the Planet Hollywood show tonight?"
Oh my God. Did you really?
Yeah,
Did you
dude.
really?
Yeah. And
He's like,
he's like,
this dude's talking
huh?
like he know me. You don't know me. You can't ask me what I'm doing. Right.
You know, I just thought because I was going to it, and
Oh, that's funny.
what? He's like, what did? Oh, and then he realized Glenn was performing there, and he's like, nah, man, we're just going to a show tonight. Looks quite the fool.
Sal, that is hilarious to me, man. That's hilarious. You cannot go up and ask people what they doing. Like, what if I went up to Bill Russell, like, hey, Bill, a basketball player like you, man, played in the West Coast Conference. Cool. So what you doing this evening? Like, like what?
Like that. I just assumed we were going to the same place, like a fool.
Dude,
Oh.
you should have just been happy to meet the bass player. Be like, yo, man, love your work, man. You always keep the tempo, right? Like
You
whatever it
always
is.
keep the tempo,
Dude,
bro.
you do a great job of keeping the tempo. Like I never get off beat with you, right? Or you never get off beat. Dude, that's funny, man. Um, that's funny. Holy cow. Was it
Well,
the
I
date, the
want to
year
say
that was
something
changed?
controversial that I'm going to put. I'm going to say WandaVision was more entertaining than Winter Soldier, Black Falcon.
Really? More entertaining?
In
What?
regards of, it was very different. And so,
Yes.
yes, the first two episodes are like that, but I also respect it's something that we've been watching for over a decade now of comic book movies, that if you're still able to do something original and keep me on edge every week, that's pretty impressive, I
I
feel.
agree. I agree.
And I will say with Winter Soldier, the opening with him flying the first episode around was sick. Okay, that was
Yo,
cool.
right.
But the story, it's fine. But then I noticed something watching the last episode. I was like, you know what's about this series? Nobody has there's no superpowers really in this. Yes, the one guy has the arm and there's super soldiers, which has been done already in Civil War.
Right.
But I'm just kind of like, where in the other one, it was like, yo, if Wanda wants to tear the whole goddamn town apart, she could do it at any minute, and then she's battling,
Yes.
and
Right. Right.
Vision. So I think that was just the vibe, because I was like, I don't really need to see, I didn't really care. Like, I mean, it was
See,
good. Don't get me
it
wrong.
was
And
good.
I will say this, the racial and social issues they bring up, which is really cool. They're doing that in comic book movies and shows now. That's unheard
Well,
of.
no, it's not because traditionally comic
Well, you're
books,
right. You're
yeah,
right.
traditionally comic books always kind of mimicked what was happening in the world and society. I mean, that's where
But
you get the Red Skull and Captain America,
that's true.
right? The Nazis and Germany
But you're
and
not seeing it in the
US.
Tim Burton movies or,
No.
old stuff like that as kind
Right,
of. But you're
right.
right. You're right.
Well, okay, so one thing I will say this. WandaVision, it's a half-hour show and it felt like a show, right?
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, they were hour-long episodes and it felt like it could have been a movie, right? Like it was a movie almost broken up into
The bad
segments.
guys I thought was kind of weak.
You didn't like the Flag Smashers
I didn't. Yeah, them and the fake
and
Captain
Zemo?
America. God, he.
Oh, John Walker, and you didn't like Zemo?
Which one's Zemo?
Zemo, the guy who pulls the mask over, who doesn't like the super soldiers, the guy who
Oh,
wants to get rid of the super soldiers because of
yeah.
Wachovia.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, he was
Kind of.
Baron Zemo. Okay. Well, all right. So I'll say this: the thing I think is interesting is that you're complaining about the fact that they didn't have any superpowers when your favorite superhero doesn't have any superpowers
Well,
at
I
all.
think that's what just got me bored with it after a while. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It's
Okay.
not so much, yeah. I mean, yeah, like a Batman, but I just meant
Yeah.
like, I think, yeah, because you know, in the Marvel universe, it's unlimited.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
think
one
about
other
it, man.
problem I had too,
Okay. What's
is
that?
his uniform at the end.
Oh, you didn't like
Now,
Falcons?
because that's another thing. You knew it was going to happen in it too. Like you
Yeah. I
knew
mean,
the
in
very
the
first
comic books, he
episode,
becomes.
you know
Yeah.
what was going to happen. But I love the thing with the wings. I love the way it looks. I love all that. What I don't
Okay.
like is the top where his dome is showing. Now, first off,
Yeah.
anybody who goes into any battle ever, you got a helmet. That's the first thing you do. Even the
You
private
cover your head.
soldier, even the guy who was a conscientious objector in Hacksaw Ridge. You see that the guy doesn't have no gun. He's got a helmet at least, going around saving people. Like you got to protect your dome. His head is
Right.
exposed. Why? And then like his ears are exposed, but he's talking to people like through the helicopter stuff. He was talking to a lady, like, I'm like, how? You don't have a helmet, you can't call and
You
hear.
can put the thing in his ear, just like you got your
Like,
earbuds on right now.
I didn't
You
see
got
earbuds. I'm
AirPods on,
seeing down his ear canal, and there was nothing in there. I'm
dude.
just saying,
It
I
was on the
thought the
other side.
helmet part could have been there because he had his neck all covered, and then his dome.
Yeah.
I was like, he's
Well,
just
it's
shot in the head. He doesn't have
so
superpowers.
no, he doesn't have superpowers. He doesn't have the soldier serum. Um, Sam Wilson, like in the comic books, he became Captain
Captain
America,
America.
right?
When was
When
that?
Uh, Captain America died after, I think it was like, it's at the end of the Civil War storyline,
What was that? The
right?
90s, 2000s?
It was 2000s,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But there was something that happened, and he passed away. Steve Rogers died in theory,
Okay.
but whatever. So he takes over, and that was the outfit they gave. But in the comic book, Sam Wilson has a little bit more hair, so the hair is kind of poofy. Like it's not as
Oh.
flat as it is. So
Oh,
it's almost
okay.
kind of like an afro, right? It kind of not a big afro, but just it's a little poofier. Um, I mean, look, I knew where it was going because at the end of Infinity War, right? When Cap gives him the shield, everyone got super excited because we all knew that it was that whole thing of Sam Wilson becoming Captain America, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what
yeah.
I did appreciate about it was I appreciated the fact that he was like hesitant to take it, and that he tried to pass it on because he just didn't feel like he was worthy and whatever the case may be. And so
Right.
instead of him starting off as Captain America, I like the idea of him kind of coming to grips and terms
It's true.
with it, right? Him with it, and it also being a conflict of being Black in America and representing America, especially with the controversial history that this country has with Black people and America,
Yeah.
right? So, and then finding that balance and finding a place to be okay with it, right? And then
Yeah.
trying to rebrand it, right? Rebrand that whole idea and the image of what it is. I like Bucky, obviously. Winter Soldier. I like seeing some of his backstory and how things worked out with him. I love that Wachovia came in, not
I did
Wachovia, but
like that
Wakanda
how
came in.
the soldiers of Wakanda came in. That was kind of
Yeah.
cool. The
Oh,
women, that was cool.
yo, yo,
Yeah.
that joint is tight.
No, I
But
mean
yeah,
I did
it's
like it. I was just trying to, comparing the two. If we had to
well, no,
play a
no,
game, I
yeah,
was
but
surprised. Don't get me wrong. After seeing the first two episodes too of WandaVision, I was like,
yeah,
but I was like, I'm gonna give it. They're gonna explain it, so just go enjoy the ride.
like right, be patient. No, I will say I think that between WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which later changed to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. WandaVision has gotten a higher rating between the two
Oh, really?
because the story. I mean, come on,
The
man, Wanda
story
is
was
so
crazy, and
powerful.
all these
The
different
story,
characters kept coming in. You're like, what is
dude,
happening?
yo, and that lady Agatha and the witches, and then
And
the
even how they
history
made
of
fun of her accent,
yeah,
how he
dude, it
kept
was
it was good.
dude, it was good. It was really good. So people have liked WandaVision more. But like I said, I think that the other one they felt like it was more like a movie kind of broken up where maybe
Yeah.
it would serve it better to be an actual movie to some degree. And there was, I've read a couple different things, and there's some plot holes, and they're trying to figure out, these are the people who are hardcore about the MCU and maintaining the storyline, right? It's like, well, they got this part right, but then they got that part wrong, and then how are they going to explain this, and how are they going to get here and over here, and there's a hole here, and there's a gap there, and I was like, God, you guys really can ruin a good show.
Oh, the Star Wars fans are the same way, bro.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's like, man, I really enjoyed it. Like, I had a good time watching it. I don't watch these things to like change my life.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
To have fun, just to enjoy the ride.
Just enjoy the ride, man.
Exactly. I totally agree. People put way too much on them. And I'm just
it's like
especially when there's been 20 of them already. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's like, what do you expect?
Dude, people go into these movies, and when they come out and they're like, my life is still the same. Movie wasn't great. You know what I mean? like I'm still the same person I was when I walked in. That movie sucked. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Like,
or they think they could do it so much better all the time too, which is so like, oh, shut up.
I have a friend. I'm gonna say his name, Chris Mannion. I gotta say it. Chris Mannion, this dude hates everything. He hates everything except for Star Wars stuff. He's a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh, we should have him on. I love talking Star Wars.
Oh my goodness, he would get deep into it.
Let's do it.
Love Star Wars stuff, hates everything. And so I've been saying to him for years, I go, Chris, if you hate it so much, then write a script. Like, I want you to write a script. Like, I would love to see what he would make. Now, the thing about Chris is half Italian, half Irish, right? So he's got tattoos of both of them on his belly, Ireland and Italy, right? And so I think, and I told him, I said, I think your ideal movie would be like The Sopranos meets Star Wars. It would be the mob with lightsabers.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool.
Right? The mob with lightsabers. For him, he'd be like, that would be perfect. Goodfellas with lightsabers.
Yeah,
right?
You could they all follow Jedi Soprano.
Yeah, exactly. So but he's one of those guys that's like, he's like, I saw that coming a mile away. That storyline wasn't unique. It wasn't different. The character development, he doesn't even get into like character development. It's just like, he's like, I could predict that show from the first episode. I knew what was going to happen.
Jesus. Yeah, you're right. Like, well, then why? How is it enjoyable if you're just going to hate everything?
Dude, I swear to you, he watches movies. And the thing is that he builds up this excitement about everything. That's his problem. It's like he puts the anticipation and the excitement so high that nothing can live up to the expectations that he places on it. Right. So when he builds it up to be the best thing that's going to happen in the entire world in that 90-minute span, and when it doesn't change his life, and when he's not a better person, and he's not taller, he's not in better shape, he doesn't look more handsome.
I still got these tattoo flags on my belly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when he walks out and he looks like the same person, then he's like, that movie sucked. Right? So, wait, hold up. The other movie that he loves is John Wick. So if it would be The Sopranos meets Star Wars with John Wick. And the thing about John Wick is, only thing he cares about is the fact that he loves John Wick's body count. He's like, he's like, in the first John Wick, he killed 100 people. In the second one, he killed 150 people.
Who's keeping stats?
Exactly. He's like, in the third one, it was phenomenal. He clipped 317 people.
So crazy. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there it is. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for listening and tuning in to Spitballin with Sal and Reggie. We hope you enjoy it. Keep listening, pass it on to your friends, and we'll see you next time.
All right, man. Peace out, everybody.